Mexico! Mexico!
Tonight, Mexico breaking diplomatic ties with Ecuador after an unprecedented use of force. Police in Ecuador's capital, Quito, raiding the Mexican embassy over the weekend and arresting former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass, who had been granted political asylum by Mexico. Video shared by Mexico's foreign minister shows the moment Roberto Canseco, a Mexican diplomat, tries to stop the caravan with the VP from driving away and is tackled by police outside the embassy.
¿Cómo delincuentes allanaron la embajada de México en Ecuador? Esto no es posible. No puede ser. Es una locura.
Mexican officials say the officers entered by force, jumping over the wall, forcing the gate, and hurting Mexican personnel.
México reitera su condena por la violación de la inmunidad de su embajada en Quito y la agresión a su personal.
Glass, who was moved to a high-security prison in Guayaquil on Sunday, arrived at the Quito embassy in December after he was indicted on corruption charges he claimed were politically motivated. Now some residents in Ecuador concerned this stunning arrest is yet another political play.
Pienso que fue una decisión muy política, justamente para, en consecuencia de que el apoyo del presidente está descendiendo.
Ecuador's foreign minister defending the move, saying that there was a risk of imminent escape and that Mexico violated the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries when they gave Glass asylum. Just 3 months ago, the president of Ecuador stressing the importance of the two nations working together to fight crime in the region to Telemundo's Julio Vaqueiro.
¿Cree que se puede trabajar en conjunto?
Debemos de trabajar juntos. Tenemos un problema similar y creo que podemos, juntando fuerzas, resolverlo de una mejor manera.
But now, that relationship seemingly shattered. The U.S. State Department condemning any violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, writing on X, "We encourage our partners Mexico and Ecuador to resolve their differences in accord with international norms." On Sunday, Mexican diplomats returning back home to an outpour of support, as Mexican officials say their embassy in Ecuador will remain closed indefinitely.
All right, Guad joins us tonight from our studios in Miami. Guad, this is such a strange story. Do we know if there'll be repercussions from Mexico? Because it seems clear from your reporting, Ecuador violated international norms that treat embassies as sovereign pieces of property.
That's correct, Tom. So what we know this morning, the Mexican chancellor announced that 29 nations around the world have spoken in favor of Mexico and condemning what happened at the Mexican embassy, including some countries from the European Union. She specifically said that the leaders of Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Bolivia have declared themselves personally in favor of Mexico. And this is going to be key. She announced that the community of Latin American and Caribbean states have called for a meeting for all of the chancellors of the members of that bloc to meet tomorrow. Both Mexico and Ecuador are members of that bloc. So tomorrow's meeting will be specifically to discuss what happened at the embassy, Tom.
Guad, you know, our viewers at home may be thinking about Ecuador, and we had that major story that you were covering for us as well, where an entire newscast was taken hostage live on the air. What exactly is the state of play in Ecuador right now?
Right. So there was a lot of violence that escalated last year because of what was happening inside of the prisons and a lot of the criminals or the organized crime groups in Ecuador that had gained a lot of power. So what happened is the new president came in, and that president cracked down on a lot of the prisons because a lot of these criminals were organizing what was happening outside from inside of the prisons. So we know that the president has taken executive actions to crack down on organized crime. That has been happening. And also, part of his administration's work has been to crack down on politicians that they have found to be guilty of specific charges. So the vice president was someone that was indicted when the new president came into power. And at some point, that vice president went to the Mexican embassy, asked for political asylum, and had remained inside of the embassy. But the government of Ecuador said that they had a right to go in there because they felt like the Mexican government had violated some type of law by interfering with with what was happening in Ecuador. So it's a very complicated situation. Now, the Mexican government, Tom, has said that they will take this to the International Court and to the United Nations so that they can take the next step as we all figure out what happens next, Tom.
Yeah, clearly it's not the last we've heard about this incident. Okay, Guad, we thank you for that. Coming up, running across Africa, a British man running across 16 countries, 10,000 miles in under a year. Our partners at Sky News right alongside him as he finally crossed the finish line. Again, he ran across the continent. The first thing he said after completing his goal. That's next.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.